time Avengers assemble. Together we fight as one, so the villain's starting to tremble. Let's go, let's go. It's time Avengers assemble. Together we fight as one, so the villain's starting to tremble. Let's go, let's go. It's time Avengers assemble. Together we fight as one, so the villain's starting to tremble. Let's go, let's go. It's time Avengers assemble. Together we fight as one, so the villain's starting to tremble.
Yo, what's going on YouTube? This is DSG, I'm Nate Ace, and today guys I have a Thor Vibranium signature attack build to show you. So if you don't know, Vibranium at the moment is incurring more increased damage than any other status effect. So because Thor deals as well innate shock damage through his Odin Force, then we're able to deal a great amount of battery effect if we use a positive on his melee. So I'm using a Vibranium for this build. So straight off on the stats, Might 308, Proficiency 65, Valor 310, Resolve 65 and Intensity 69. So I'm using the Non-Stone of Lethal Will for the increased damage buffs and the increased damage boost when activating. You can go for the Tactagon, it's up to you, but you do actually get more damage output through activating the Non-Stone. My minor artifacts, guys, I'm using these just for the stats. I am benefiting from some of the perks, but to be honest, I'm just using these for the stats. And again, for the heroic slot, Hive Mind Girdle with the Intensity, Valor and Might stats. This came to me from the Red Room event. So I know a lot of people won't have these type of drops, so if you can get the legendary piece called the Apex Blitz that falls with up to 20% increased damage to signature attacks, then that will work out really good for this type of build as well. So my defensive piece, I'm using a reactive buff, 18% chance taking damage grants a damage buff. Like I said in some of my past videos, there's not many pieces that I personally would ever replace the damage buff out for other than an intrinsic burst, if I get my damage buff on a different slot. But for this type of build, I really wanted the damage buff on the defensive. So my range piece, guys, just for the stats, this could be anything on perks and it doesn't matter because I'm not using my ranged attacks whatsoever. This is just for the stats. This is, yeah. So the main piece and the whole build that this is centered around is the powerful reverberation of embraces. So power attacks and signature attacks both inflict Vibranium damage, with the Odin Force recuperation 235% increased willpower recovery when Odin Force is active. So I am actually really trying to hunt out the this powerful reverberation to fall with the Odin Force breaker, so 11.3% increased damage when Odin Force is active, or if it fell with the Odin Force flare, that would be even greater again. So I'll keep hunting, and I will improve this build a little bit with that gear drop. But this piece, guys, this came to me from the Wakanda shards. I think the Wakanda shards. You can get Wakanda pieces from, you know, the shards, chests, defeating enemies in Wakanda as well, sorry, and the end rewards, and also the Wakanda vendor. So I wish you all luck in hunting out this piece if you are looking to do this type of build. Yeah, it goes crazy, it does. So the skills I'm using are the Ema's Wrath and Hell's Anger for the increased damage when activating a support heroic. I'm using Son of the Elder Gods and Overcharge Blast, Plasma Burn, Bifrost Plasma Burn, and Return from Bifrost Overcharged. For my combat skills, I'm using melee stun damage. Of course, it's the main one to go for a melee build, and the same for combo damage. Increased combo finishes by 25%. Takedowns grant heroic orbs. We're not using our ranged attacks, so I'll skip over that. Force of Will, dealing damage while Odin Force is active, recover 1.2% willpower per hit. If you're doing a melee build and a status type melee build like this, you can go for the iconic bolts. It works really good. It's just, you know, I don't feel I need it, so but it does actually work really good, you know. So maximum force, increase the amount of intrinsic Odin Force energy meter by 15%. Hone Force, reduce the overall cost of using the intrinsic ability by 10%. You can go sorry, you can go for the Surgeon Force, increase your Increase the automatic regeneration speed of Odin Force energy meter by 12%. The reason I'm not going for that one is because this kind of benefits us most when we stop attacking, so the Odin Force meter has time to actually regenerate. Unless you have an intrinsic burst or something like that, then this will benefit that type of perk as well. But I'm using my signature attacks, and anyone that knows that when we use our signature attacks, we're kind of stood in one spot, just spamming spamming the signature attack button and Odin Force button. So it makes sense to me to have reduce the cost of the Odin Force, just to help out that little bit, so we can keep spamming the Odin Force. So my intrinsic overcharge, explosive defense. So when overcharged, countering enemy attacks summons an additional lightning bolt with an explosion size increased by 35%. Because this is a signature attack or melee type build, melee builds aren't popular right now, or for a little while, because when it comes to ranged, you're being interrupted from your attacks less, you're being staggered less. It makes for being interrupted less. So when it comes to melee builds, that's why they're kind of not popular at the minute, is because they're just not as maybe the damaging, yes, but they're not as maybe lasting when it comes to taking damage, because we are so close to enemies compared to a range build when we're backed off and have all the space that we need to stay alive. But this piece, guys, this skill, I'm using because for a melee build, we're closer to we're closer to enemies. The enemies can be shielded sometimes, so if they're if I'm overcharged and they're trying to attack me, then the additional lightning bolt that comes down to counter them actually deletes their whole shield. And if I have if I have my Vibranium status effect on them, then the battery effect, this just adds to the battery effect. It's crazy. So yeah, try it out if you want. I suggest people, if you can, try it out for yourselves, and let us know in the comments below what you think of just this whole type of build in general. If you're doing it, let us know what you think. So I'm also using Charged Heroic, increased heroic energy regeneration when Odin Force is overcharged by 10%. You can go for the defensive skills, it's personal preference on what you want to do with these, but I prefer having the Charged Heroic skill. And the last one is Damage Force, so increase all damage by 15% when Odin Force is overcharged. So that just works out brilliantly for any type of build that we're doing with Thor. That's probably the better skill to go for out of all the three there. And lastly now, guys, my champion skills. So I just recently filled these out, and just to point out which ones that I suggest that any Thor main to go for is, I suggest to go for the more damaging skills. So if you're a ranged player, go for ranged or melee, but also the heroic damage, the criticals, and if you can, the stun and status. But it's up to you what you want to go for first. It is totally up to you, but I went for the criticals, the heroic and the ranged, and then filled out, I think it was the heroic recharge rate, and then did everything else as and when I could. But that's everything, guys. Skills, gear and stats. A massive shout out to the Doom Squad members, and thank you all so much for watching. I think I have another video ready to come out on DSG as well, so stay tuned for that. How to find the best Wakanda gear offline at the Wakanda vendor. So peep that video, stay tuned, guys, and thank you all so much for watching. Bye.